Hello students, in this video we'll be going to talk about Animals Life chapter 6, which is in class 5th science. Alright, so let us begin with our chapter, that is Animal Life. So we see different animals around us in our environment. Animals, and there are millions of different types of animals that live on earth. All right, not only even if you go out, and if you see the surrounding, you will be able to see many different kinds of animals, right? For example, dog, cat, cow, etc. So all these animals we can see in our surrounding when we go out from our home. Okay, so all these are the animals, all these are the land animals which we see in our daily life. Okay, you can see the images which is over here: giraffe, elephant, etc. So these are the animals which you see basically in land. Okay, so now we will move on to the next category. Next category we have here is the animals which lives in water, like dolphin you can see over here, a fish you can see over here, a jellyfish. Okay, so all these animals, okay, they live in water. Fine. So in this chapter, okay, in this chapter, what all things mainly we have to study? The first point is the surroundings in which a living organisms lives and survives is called is habitat. This is one thing. Okay, this is the introduction of the chapter. This is number one. Now the second thing we have in this chapter is animals which have different body features that help them survive in habitat. Now what do I mean by saying features? Like its characteristics. Okay, its characteristics which allow them to live in that particular habitat. Now the third point is animals comes in different types. Okay, it comes in many different types, and the very tiny like amoeba, or very huge like blue hole. Okay, we'll study this in detail again so that you all can understand what all things are there. Okay, so in this chapter mainly we are going to cover certain things. Okay, and what are those certain things? First thing is, we will be going to talk about, the first point is different body coverings. Okay, then secondly we will be going to discuss about different eating habits, sorry. Third is different methods of breathing, like how the different animals are breathing in different way. And the fourth one is different methods of moving, how the animals move. And the last, we will discuss about migration, that is the fifth one. Fine. So let us start with the first one, that is different body coverings. All right. Yes. So under different body coverings, we have a first point, that is feathers. Okay. So all those animals which have feathers. Okay. So feather is one category of a body covering. Okay. So the only group of animals with feathers as their body covering is birds. Okay, you all know this very well, that the only group of animals which have feathers as the body covering is birds. Okay, so various examples you can take. Okay, like parrots, birds, peacock, and so on. Fine, children. Next category is scales. Those animals which have scales in their body. Okay, and where we see those scales? Okay, those scales we can see in snake. Okay, as you all can see, if you will see it nicely, okay, you will be able to see the scales over here. And secondly, we also see the scales in lizard, and thirdly we also see scales in fishes. Okay, so scales are a type of body covering that fish and reptiles do have. Okay, this is another type. Okay, first we studied about feathers, which is one type of body covering. Then second type is the scales, okay, which is also a body covering. Now third, we are going to talk about a shell. Okay, you all know how shell looks like. Okay, shell looks like this. Fine, these are the pictures over here, you can see it over here. Okay, so shells are mainly it is hard, and the outer cover are called as shells. For examples, you can see snails, turtles, and tortoise. Okay, if you will see tortoise, if you would have noticed tortoise, the outer part, okay, the outer part is known as shell, and the shell, okay, the shell is very hard. The outer cover of a tortoise is very hard. All right, so the next category, under different body coverings is fur. Okay, you all know what fur is, right? Mammals have hair on their bodies to protect them and keep them warm. Similarly, animals like polar bears have a thick covering of hair which is called as fur. As you can see, this is a polar bear, and this polar bear is having a thick covering. Okay, this side you can see it is having it has a thick covering which is called as fur. Fine. Next, in this chapter, we are going to discuss about different eating habits. Okay, for example, we as a human beings, okay, we also have a different eating habits. Okay, when like some people like Indian food, some people like junk food, okay, some like healthy food, some like non-healthy food. These are like their eating habits, or or I can say that it is in their habit which they are eating. Similarly, different animals have different eating habits. Okay, so we will be going to discuss about feeding habits of animals, right? So let us move on with our next slide. So under this first category we have it over here is herbivores. Okay, now I'm pretty sure you all know what herbivore is, or what are herbivores, or how you can define herbivores. Fine, so animals that eat plants. Okay, all those animals which eat plants such as cow, all right, cow, sheep, goat, zebra, and horse. All these animals comes under the category of herbivores. Okay, why they comes under the category of herbivores? Because they eat only plants. That is why they comes under the category of herbivores. Okay, now these animals, they have basically sharp front teeth to cut or bite the plants, as well as they have large flat back teeth to grind the food. Fine, so this is a quality of those animals which eat only plants. Now the second category we have carnivores. Okay, so carnivores are those animals that eat other animals, or I can say that eat those animals which eat the flesh of other animals are known as carnivores animals. Now, what are the examples of carnivorous animals? The examples are lion, wolf, frog, snake, lizard, eagle, owl. So, all these are the carnivorous animals. As you can see it over here, all these animals are the examples of carnivorous animals. As well as one more thing, like lion, tigers, other meat eaters, okay, they have a sharp and pointed front teeth, okay, so that they can tear the food, and strong back teeth to chew the flesh and bones. Okay, similarly when I talk about eagles and owls, okay, they have a sharp strong claws to catch small animals like rats, and sharp hooked beaks to tear the flesh. And if I talk about frogs and lizards, they have a long sticky tongue, okay, a sticky tongue that they use to catch their prey. Now, the next category, the third category under this is omnivores. Okay. Now, what are omnivores? Omnivores are those animals that eat both plants and animals. Okay. These are known as omnivores. For example, we have ducks, humans like us, as well as bears eat both plants and animals, and therefore these animals are known as omnivores. Fine. All right, so next we will talk about different methods of breathing. How do animals breathe? All right, so here first way is through lungs. Mammals, birds and reptiles, they have two lungs which are connected by breathing tube. As you can see children, it has two lungs. This is one and this is two. Okay, so it has two lungs. Now how does it work? These are connected by a breathing tube, as I told you, to the nostrils. This side is the nostrils. Okay, and air is breathed in through the nostrils, like from here, this side, through the nostrils, and fills the lungs, and then it fills the lungs. The lungs become big when air enters. The lungs exchange the oxygen in the inhaled air with the carbon dioxide produced in the body. The air is then breathed out through the nostrils. Okay, so this is how it works, through lungs. Next is, now there are some animals, okay, there are some animals which breathe in a different way. Okay, and how, why I'm saying in a different way? Because some animals breathe through moist skin. Okay, the earthworm, you can see this is the earthworm over here. The earthworm breathes through its moist skin. So does the frog. Okay, and so does the frog when it is in water. Okay, when it is in water especially. So on the land, when the frog is on the land, it how it breathes on the land, the frog breathes through the lungs. Okay, but when it is in water, how does it breathe? With the help of its skin. Okay, this you need to keep it in your mind. Okay children, now the next category we have. Now, some animals breathe through the body holes. Okay, so small holes in the body or both sides, air enters here and reaches all body parts through the breathing tube. So, insects breathe through these tiny holes. Okay, and these tiny holes are called as what? Spiracles. Okay, these tiny holes are called as spiracles, which is on both sides of the body. So the air enters and reaches all the parts of the body through small tubes called as breathing tubes. Now next category, we have some animals which breathe through their scales. Okay, take water through their mouth and breathe dissolved oxygen. Now what do I mean by saying this? Okay, for example, fish, tadpoles, all right, prawns, and most animals that live in water, they breathe the air dissolved in water, and they have gills instead of lungs. Okay, so these animals or these fish and tadpoles, they are not having lungs children. Okay, instead of lungs, what they have gills. All right, so they take in water through their mouth, As the water passes over the gills, the dissolved oxygen is taken in and carbon dioxide is given out. All right, so this was all about part 1 of this chapter, okay, where we have covered few points, okay. So remaining part we will cover in the second part of the chapter. I hope you all have understood the first part explanation of this chapter. Thank you and God bless you all.